Hey everyone, hope you're all doing well. My name is PJ and today I'll guide you around Singapore in your favourite F1 game. We'll be going through each corner in detail so that you can have some tips ahead of your next race. And we're going to begin right away down here at turn 1. Your braking point is going to be just after the 100-metre board. What I like to use is the marshal post up there, the black square you see at the top of the screen. I am coming in here at 8th gear and I bring it down to about 3rd. You brake hard and then you initially lean off the brakes just so you can actually turn the car in, and you just put one wheel on the curb here on the inside, and then this second curb here for turn 2 is super flat, so you can use pretty much all of it, although you might want to avoid the orange curb there on the inside. And then you get down for turn 3 and you're doing this whole thing in one single sequence, so it's like one flowing movement all the way through. So you get in here as close as you can to the curb. You can use the curb a little bit. You're in 3rd gear here, and now as soon as you cross this point you should be immediately thinking about putting the power down. So you get through here at 3rd gear. What I like to do is I short shift up to 4th immediately, put some power down. If I still feel a bit of wheel spin by the time I reach these curbs, I'm going to short shift once more and make sure that I'm absolutely full throttle all the way down towards the next turn down here. So what I do for this one is you can come out really wide here. You can pretty much ignore that curb. That curb is practically paint. It's barely going to make a dent at all in your line. So your approach here should be to approach from as wide as possible, and your plan here is to roll as much speed as you can through the corner so that you can get a good run out onto the next straight. So you're coming in here at about 5th gear and you just roll it in. You can take a little bit of curb. You shouldn't take too much because from here you should already be thinking about getting close to full throttle. So you're already here in 5th gear, you short shifted out up to 6th, and then you probably need to short shift it again up to 7th, and by the time you reach this curb you should be flat out because the DRS is right here onto the longest straight on the entire circuit, and you've got a long run down now to turn 7. And in terms of setup, what I'm using at the moment and what I've found to be pretty decent is the increased downforce preset. So before you mess about with custom setups or anything like that, I would recommend you try that out first and see how it goes, because you do need a lot of downforce as you get around this Singapore street circuit with a lot of 90-degree corners coming up, and a few of those are going to come up right here, starting with turn 7, where you brake at the 100-meter board. And if you can't properly see that, then look at where the barrier changes here and it juts into the right hand side. You want to brake in a straight line so that you can maximize your braking force as you get down, and as soon as you get into the 50 you keep braking. Then once you reach the curb you release the brakes just so you can turn in. You're down to 4th, potentially 3rd gear here. You can use this curb on the inside just a little bit, and then you need to be careful with where you line up the car on the outside, because you want to put some power down straight away. You're going to probably short shift again on the exit. You want to put some power down straight away, and a common tactic is to skate across the top like this, because the curb isn't massively high. It's still a little high, depends on how much ride height you're using. If you're not too low to the ground, you can go straight across the top of that and you don't need to worry about it. And now we get into the next right-hander straight away for turn 8, and you're braking just before the 50-meter board. Again, you're going to apply the same tactic. Apply from as far to the left as you can, as close to the wall. Bring it down into 3rd gear, get through here, avoid this curb. I would maybe skim it a little bit, depends on how the car is feeling, because again your focus really through a lot of the corners in Singapore is actually your power out of the corner and not your entry into the corner, because there's a lot of, it's a very stop-start circuit, and with circuits like that you need to be very careful of how much power you put down on the exit. You don't want to spin the car, of course, but you do need to get the speed out because of all those straight sections. And you're doing the exact same for this corner. You come out as far as you can and then you bring it in, and the curb here you can be a little bit more forgiving, but again you're short shifting on the exit. You're short shifting it up to 4th or 5th, And then you bring it down, and then you've got a long-ish straight down here. And again, you're braking just before the 50-meter board. It'll be very hard to see, but you can see where the concrete there moves away from the barrier. That could be your reference point, but really, aim to brake just before the 50, so just after the 100. And again, like all of the corners in Singapore, you're pretty much braking in a straight line. Maximize your braking force so that you get into this sector here, which, since it got reprofiled a couple of years ago, is a much easier corner than it used to be. It used to be called the Singapore Sling. It was similar to turns 1, 2 and 3 in that it went left, right and left, but the curves were notably high and they would often launch cars in the air, which was really bad. But now it's just a simple left-hander. You're coming in here, third, potentially fourth gear, and again you short shift on the exit just a little bit, just so you can put the power down. And then I find these next two corners to be a little tricky because you're shifting the weight around the car. You're shifting it from the right to the left to the right, so it's really tough to get the power down. But your focus through here, roll as much speed as you can. This curb is fairly flat, so you can get away with it. Probably short shift again on the exit. You're going to hear me say that a lot. And then you get through here. Now, I have had mixed fortunes with the curb here when I've been doing this. Sometimes I can go over it. Sometimes I can cut in the inside of the curb and keep the power down. But if you want to be absolutely safe through that corner, because that curb is relatively high, you should avoid that curb, because that would be ideal, because otherwise you're going to shift too much of the weight to one side of the car and raise the inside left wheel, the rear wheel, which will spin the car. I've had that happen quite a few times, and it's very frustrating. Once you've done all the hard stuff of the first half of the lap, you don't want to throw it away on the bridge. Speaking of the bridge, you want to get over as far to the right as you can, and by the time you cross under the bridge here, which I've just done, you should already be braking. And you're probably going to be, if you can, brake in a straight line and point it this way, point it straight. But if you can't, you might need to brake while turning right and then turn it left once you release the brakes. And this is standard hairpin. Just roll the speed through very slowly. Once you're past the apex, short shift once, put some power down, short shift again, put the rest of the power down, open the DRS, and then you get down to a deceptive braking zone, because the runoff area there makes it look like the barrier is further away than it actually is. So your braking point here is going to be the 100-meter board is where I would start braking. And again, straight line, just slam the anchors, put them down, brake really hard, then ease off the brakes as you get to the 50 and then turn it in. You're going to be in third gear through here, and as always, short shift on the exit so you can put the power down a little easier. And then you do the exact same here. So this is more of a trail brakey corner, so just after the 100-meter board you're going to start braking, and you're going to keep braking while turning left, and then as you get to the 50 you turn right, and you've released off the brakes almost entirely by the time you're here. And you can go over this curb because you're going through this at low speed. You go through here, third gear, short shift it, do the same here. What I like to do on this corner is to put the left hand wheels inside the corner, because I find that if I have the wheels on the curb, it's very difficult to put the power down unless you're running something like traction control. But again, usual strategy, you roll it through, you short shift on the exit, you've got a very short blast down here, and your braking point here is just before the 50-meter board, which is obscured by the sign up above there. So that's where I start braking for what is the tightest corner on the entire circuit. Don't even think about passing a car through here. It is pretty much impossible, unless they give you all the room in the world and decide to use the runoff area. So you want to get in as close as possible, third gear. There's a little cutout there in the wall, so you can actually cut the corner just a tiny bit, which you need because as you can see how tight it is. It's really tight. Third gear, short shift it, roll it through this one. Same again, you can use the curb. Then try to put some power down. but you won't have much time because you're braking straight away again for this corner. Just a short, direct braking. You're not going to be braking for long. Roll over the inside curbs, watch the orange ones on the inside. Same on this side here. Absolutely easy. And then it's just being how patient you are with the throttle on the way out. Again, short shift it up to 5th, potentially 6th. And by the time you reach the end of these curbs, you should be flat out. If you can get flat out earlier, that's even better. But it depends on setup, it depends on tyres, it depends on what assist you're using, and depends on how brave you are as well. So you get through then you've got the final corner, the final 2 corners as it were, because it's a multi-corner corner, if that's a phrase. I like to brake just a little bit. So I believe I'm coming through here at 7th gear, and then I just bring it down to 6th. And then you just brake here at the orange just a little bit. Bring it down to 1 gear. Bring it in. Be careful on the inside curb here. You don't want to whack the orange ones on the inside. You just want to graze the curb on the inside like so, and then try to get back on the power as much as you can without oversteering or understeering, because it's possible to do either here. If you oversteer, obviously you spin. If you understeer, you'll go off the track. You'll get a penalty for that. But you want to find the Goldilocks zone in between so that you can maximize your speed out to the final corner. And it's very hard to see here, and we just passed it, but you wouldn't realize it, but there is a DRS zone here, and you gotta wait for the beep, then you open the beep, and then you complete the lap, and then we will now go into a hot lap. Here we go then for a flying lap at the Marina Bay Street Circuit. One of the toughest places on the entire calendar, because it just does not give you a break pretty much anywhere. As soon as you finish one corner, you need to immediately think of the next one. But many of them follow a similar profile. You need to brake hard, turn in, short shift on the exit, put the power down. Like so. And again. Now get over to the right hand side for this one. Some curbs you can take, some curbs you can't. But you should always aim to get as close to them as possible to get a good lap time. Tricky braking zone there because you're turning to the right as you brake. This one's more straightforward. And this one is similar to the hairpin, but not as tricky. Roll the speed through this corner. Then get in as tight as you can for this left-hander, and then link it up to the right. Just a very light touch of the brakes through there, and then try to get the power down as early as you can. Then a very short stab of the brakes to finish the lap. Now that you know your way around Singapore, why not try out some other guides on my channel? You can find 2 videos on screen now. In the meantime, thanks for watching and liking, and I wish you the best of luck in your next race.